If we can get the slides up, we'll go through our housekeeping efforts here. Next slide, please. Just as a reminder, closed captions are available in English and in Spanish. English closed captions are available within Zoom and YouTube. Users can follow this link to view both English and Spanish captions in a separate browser window, https://ibr.news/captions. Next slide, please. And just a reminder of our meeting participation tips. First of all, we want to thank you all for joining us. Please join audio by either phone or computer. We ask that you not join by both. We encourage panelists to turn on your video if you're able. Please keep your audio on mute when not speaking. If you experience technical difficulties, please contact program staff at 360-329-6744. Next slide, please. Just a reminder as to how to access the closed captions feature. At the bottom middle of your screen, you should see a menu of options. If you can't see the menu, hover your mouse over the bottom middle of the screen. Click the square CC icon towards the right side of the menu to toggle captions on. Click the set menu and whatever that icon is. This is a new one. Arrow to access more settings, including language, font color, and font size. Sam, you're in IT. What's the name of that symbol there?
You're talking about closed captioning?
Well, the symbol there under the set menu, number 3.
Oh, caret. Caret. C-A-R-A-T.
Oh, caret. See, that should have been a test. I wonder how many of us knew what that was. The set menu caret arrow to access. Learn something new every day. Next slide, please. In an effort to continue to center equity, there is an ASL interpreter in addition to closed captioning. To make sure the interpreter is always visible, please right-click their video and select Spotlight Video. For those watching on YouTube, when we screen share, you will be able to see the slideshow, closed captioning, and the ASL interpreter. You will still be able to hear different people speaking, but may not see them. Next slide. There will be an opportunity to provide brief public input later in the meeting, roughly around 5:45. Verbal public comment will be welcome in the Zoom webinar during the designated time with the option to turn on your web camera. Please use the link located in the meeting description on the YouTube meeting page or on the IBR CAG meeting webpage. Commenters will not be allowed to share their screens and will be removed from the room once the public comment period concludes. To comment by phone, please dial 669-900-6833 or 408-638-0968. You'll want to remember to enter meeting ID number 993-5459-6043, as well as a passcode, which is 674942. Please also remember to dial *9 to raise your hand. After you are invited to speak, please dial *6 to unmute yourself. Next slide, please. Just an overview of today's meeting. Here in a second, we'll have introductions. We'll receive a program update. We'll have an opportunity to roll up our sleeves and learn more about Section 106, cultural resources, and upcoming public comment period. Then we'll have a robust discussion relative to the draft SEIS public comment period, the community engagement associated with that, as well as public notifications. We'll then continue our discussion relative to active transportation by having the active transportation roadmap discussion. We'll receive public comment, and then we'll close. Next slide, please. Just a reminder, as we continue to do our work together, we always want to remember to put relationships first, for us to stay focused on our common goal, to always be noticing the power dynamics in the room, to create space for multiple truths and norms, be kind and brave, that we always practice examining racially biased systems and processes, and for us to always be looking for opportunities for learning. Next slide, please. With that, I'd like to turn it over to our co-chairs, Ed Washington and Lynn Valenter, to welcome us all. Ed and Lynn?
Well, I think I beat Ed to unmuting, so I just want to say it's been a little while. It looks like we have good turnout today, so thank you everyone for being here. Huge milestones in addition to the funding that we received. The pending submission of the draft SEIS is exciting and coming soon. So this is starting to be the exciting time when hopefully we can all start to see some of the benefits of the work that has been put in over the last several years, in addition to decades before. With that, Ed, I think I saw you unmuted.
Yes, can you hear me okay? Okay, well, welcome everybody. I'm sorry, I'm just having a little difficulty on my end, but I'm working on it. But good to see all of you and hear all your voices. And that's all I have to say. Except for I do have to leave at 6 o'clock this evening. I have another commitment that I cannot get out of. Okay, just want to let you know. Okay. That's all I have to say.
And Lynn, do you want to lead us through our open discussion?
The introductions.
Yes.
Okay, wanted to make sure we were tracking. So we're not gonna tell stories or go into great detail, but we do want to give everyone that's a CAG member, so not staff, but the CAG members, if you would do an introduction. And everyone's been great about raising your hand and then just calling on someone. So if I'm gonna go ahead and ask Irina, I can see you for, oh, I see Tom, sorry. I'm gonna back up. Tom's hand was the first one up. So Tom, if you would go and then just take turns calling on each other, that would be terrific.
I'm always very prompt about raising my hand. Tom Hickey, I'm a CAG member representing North Portland neighborhoods. And Sam.
Yeah, I'm a fast follower to Tom. Great job. I used to be a super commuter, but now I work out of Montesano in a new job. But I'm still very much interested in making sure this bridge gets built. So I'm a at-large community member. Let's see, Sherry?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Sam. My name is Sherry Call, President and CEO of the Washington Trucking Association, representing freight on the Washington side. And I'll call on my colleague, Dina.
Thanks, Sherry. I'm Dina Horton, Government Relations Director and now Deputy Director at Pacific Northwest Waterways Association. I represent the river users and multimodal freight users, she, her pronouns, and I will call on Jay.
Hi, I'm Jay Clark. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for the Portland Metro Chamber. We represent 2,300 businesses in 17 counties in Oregon. And I live in East Vancouver and work in downtown Portland. And I will call on Zachary.
Thank you, Jay. Zachary Lauritsen, he, him. I'm at Oregon Walks, pedestrian advocacy organization, and I will pass to Jarina.
Jarina Hatch, mobility manager in Vancouver, Washington. I will pass to Irina.
Hey, I'm Irina Phillips, East European Coalition, and I'm so many years on this board already. She, her pronoun. And I call Bill Prouse.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Bill Prouse from the Oregon Association of Minority Entrepreneurs. I am calling from home today, so I'm not at work, but I've been with the group from the beginning. I'm going to call on John Wilson.
Hi, John Wilson, he, him pronouns, and I'm with Vancouver Clinic, and I work on both sides of the river, but live on the Vancouver side. I don't think there's anybody else, but apologize if I missed anyone.
What about Jay? Jay Clark.
No, I was just slow to lower my hand. Sorry.
That's okay. You get style points for dialing in. So thank you, everyone. I think with that, Johnell, you're introducing our always beloved next speaker.
Great. Thank you so much. With that, we like to welcome our program administrator, Rick Johnson, for an update. Correct?
Lynn, did you say always beloved? There's a few people who would disagree with that.
But not the people on this call. So
Just make sure you get that on the record.
Love everywhere, so you can get it here.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, thank you. And someone was mentioning, you know, this group has been together. It will be 4 years come January that this group has been together, and we started contacting folks. I believe October of 2020, and formed a group. So once again, thank you for those who have been here and who continue to serve on this important body. So let's go to the next slide. So the team, and as Lynn mentioned, we are coming on some major milestones. So instead of jumping into the recent activities right off the bat, let's talk about next Friday, a week from tomorrow, our draft supplemental document will be published. And that will be the start of a 60-day public comment period. So today you're going to hear about how to interact with that document and how you can take this to your communities that you represent and make sure that those folks know how to comment, how to be a part of this, and how to make their voice heard. So this is a huge milestone, and this puts us squarely on the path to having construction start late next year. So all of the hard work, all of the years of toiling and talking will be coming to fruition with a shovel in the ground next year. And then we're going to be in for a even longer journey. And so this group will be maybe not in the same fashion, but this group, the community advisory group, we anticipate will live as long as this project is going forward. So if you want to be the person who started with us and ends with us, plan your next 10 years out, take your vitamins, and we'll be happy to have you. So with that, we had our Federal Highway Administrator come to town to help celebrate the Bridge Improvement Program Grant Award. Once again, $1.5 billion. That is the second, that may be the first largest BIP grant that's been awarded in the country. We know that some of the East Coast projects are very large and they get a lot of attention, but this program has drawn the attention of both Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration, and also the US DOT in general. So we had Administrator Shaylin Batt, Senators Patty Murray and Maria Cantwell, as well as Congresswoman Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez. We did not have representation in large part from Oregon, but they sent along messages of support. Folks had prior commitments and could not make it. So this was once again a fantastic day. And just as we began to talk, the bridge started to lift. So they got a chance to see the backups and the chaos created from a bridge lift firsthand. Next, we had our FTA administrator, Valenter, and she's the acting administrator, and she came out to help, primarily to help TriMet celebrate the Better Red opening, but she also took time to come and take a tour of the IBR project and she is tremendously supportive. And once again, had nothing but good things to say about how the program is moving forward from the Federal Transit Administration perspective. In advance of the release of the draft, we have done 2 virtual community briefings. We did one on a late afternoon, and we did one on a Saturday afternoon to get folks starting to get keyed into how they can participate in once this draft supplemental document is on the street. So these type of activities we will continue to do. We will continue to reach out and get folks knowledgeable about how to be a part of this thing. We continue to do presentations. Frank Green did an excellent presentation in front of the C-Tran board. We did a presentation for the Vancouver Chamber of Commerce, and I did that one, and that was a fantastic conversation. The conversation got so good, we probably went 30 minutes longer than anticipated, but very good questions and a lot of interest in getting this thing underway and getting it done. We also spoke at the City of Vancouver's Cultural Arts and Heritage Commission, as well as their Parking Advisory Committee. So we continue to do presentations, and one thing we have that just happened today, the regional Federal Highway Administration person was in town, Bashirat Siddiqui, and we gave him and significant Federal Highway Administration staff a tour of the bridge and a sit-down presentation so they could understand from a more regional standpoint of the importance of this project. So great things happening and getting folks bought into the importance of getting this project done. We continue to do tabling, and you can see the list. We've been at the Farmers Market in Vancouver. We were at Bridgeton's annual summer picnic, the Providence Bridge Paddle, Vancouver Waterfront Concert Series, Portland Summer Concert Series, the Kenton Farmers Market, and also the Celebrating Black Arts and Culture event. And these are just a few of the things that the team is participating in to try and make sure, and I think I've told you before, my goal is that no one says, boy, what is this? I've never heard of this. So we're trying to get out and beat the bushes so everyone knows about this and once again knows how to make their voice heard in the process. But the team continues to do good things. We're going to be busy with, as the public comment period goes forward, the design team is going to continue to work on things. You're going to hear a presentation on some of the active transportation issues that we're working on. You're going to hear that tonight. The transit team continues to work on what transit will look like as far as the transit, the light rail stations and how they will interact with the community. So still good work going on as we continue to march towards a groundbreaking. So with that, I will take any questions or concerns that this committee may have.
Any questions, comments for Greg? That's easy. Zachary?
Hey, Greg. Hey, everybody. And I apologize. I sent this email way too late. I think it was yesterday morning. And so the question I had, I kind of see us as ambassadors in a lot of ways, right? Like we come here and we share ideas, but I see it also going out into our communities and talking to people and getting that word out, right? And I had asked in this email when I sent it to the CAG admin, which was, can we see, like, I'm sure you all have a spreadsheet where you're like, quantitative, these are the groups we've talked to, but also qualitative, like a little paragraph, like this number of people or this number of people showed up to the meeting and listened, that we could get our hands on so that we can go, oh, actually we're missing these 3 or 4. Let's make sure that we, as ambassadors, we go out to those groups. I don't know if it's in the DIEIS, like maybe it is, or maybe that's something totally separate, but can we get a hold of that to help like get the word out to where the gaps are?
We definitely can do something like that, Zachary. I don't think it's part of the draft SEIS, but our team, our PA comms team, keeps a list of things that we do. I don't know if it's specific to how many people were there, but we keep generally a list of folks who we've talked to and the topics that were discussed. So we'll make sure that we get that carried forward and get that to the team writ large. So.
Great. We have Dina.
Yeah, I'm curious how the modeling is going for trying to ensure that we have enough clearance under the bridge, given, you know, the uncertainties related to the Columbia River Treaty and the flood control plan expiring, I think on the 15th of September, I believe, or 14th of September, and looking at climate change and atmospheric rivers and a whole host of things that could potentially raise the normal level of water under the bridge for longer durations than we typically see now?
So Dina, that's a great question. Our team is looking at the sustainability aspect of this infrastructure, and that means looking at what river levels are projected going into the future and what certain type of events that happen can do to river level, and thus impacting vessels' ability to go underneath our bridge, both width-wise as well as height-wise. So all of those things are being discussed and talked about and taken into consideration. So we continue to have discussions with the Coast Guard. We know that our federal partners are soon having a conversation with the Rear Admiral of the Coast Guard to talk about bridge height issues and impacted river users. We continue to talk to river users to understand their concerns and to help mitigate their concerns with a fixed span bridge. So all of those things are still ongoing. We're hoping by the end of this year that we will be engaged with the Coast Guard on a new finding of or PNCD, which is their height restrictive process that we must go through. So all of those things are still moving forward. Conversations are being had both with the Coast Guard and the Army Corps. So more to come on those issues as they develop, but we're hoping by the end of this year to be petitioning for a new finding for navigational clearance. Any other questions or concerns that I can answer for this team?
Bill?
Yeah, just a quick question to follow up, Greg. How far can you go with the design if you don't know how tall it has to be? I mean, it's a stupid question, but I'm a stupid person and not knowing this engineering and how it works. So,
well, we are putting forward a proposed height, but we are also carrying a movable span along with us through the draft process, and we will continue to carry both scenarios, both 116-foot fixed as well as a movable span, until such time that one is determined not to be feasible. So we will continue to carry both, and hopefully sometime early next year, we will have a determination that says this is the path that we're walking.
got you. Okay.
Other questions, comments for Greg? Okay. Thank you, Greg. Next up,
Thanks, everyone.
We'll have Haley Ruff, who is our IBR Cultural Resource Program Manager. Haley will be coming to present material on Section 106. Welcome, Haley.
Thank you very much. Alrighty. Good evening, everybody. I'm really looking forward to sharing a few details with you about our upcoming Section 106 public comment opportunity. As you may recall, I shared last March with you a little bit about the Section 106 process and details for our public outreach at that time that really focused on understanding the broad history of the area. For this public comment period, we are excited to share our findings from two key steps in the Section 106 process, our identification of properties and assessment of effects to them. Slide, please. So Section 106 is a little reminder here, based on our last conversation. Section 106 is a process that all federal agencies must follow to consider effects on historic properties from projects like IBR. This is a separate process from NEPA that IBR must comply with, and similar to NEPA, Federal Highway and FTA are also co-leading this process. It is a procedural effort that relates specifically to historic properties and cultural resources, which includes any pre-contact or historic district, site, building, structure, or object, such as artifacts, records, and remains. We, in the time since we last shared information about Section 106 with the public, as I noted, have conducted two additional major milestones in that Section 106 process, and that has culminated in determinations of eligibility, so identifying historic properties, and documents that are findings of effect, so assessing those effects to those historic properties, and we'll be publishing those for public comment. So the Section 106 comment period will run separately from NEPA, yet parallel, and it will be held this October, starting on October 18th and concluding on November 18th. Slide, please. So a reminder a little bit about the Section 106 process. There are 4 key steps in the Section 106 process, which is procedural and is comprised of initially step 1, the lead agency or agencies, again, in this case, Federal Highways and FTA, initiate the process. This includes determining the undertaking, coordinating with other reviews, identifying the relevant consulting parties, and planning to involve the public. Step 2 is the identification of historic properties. This includes determining the area of potential effect, or APE, as is often used, preliminary survey work to identify historic properties, and determinations of eligibility, all in consultation with the Section 106 consulting parties and the public. In step 3, we then assess the potential effects of the program on the historic properties that were identified in the previous step, again in consultation with consulting parties and the public. And this is where we currently are in our Section 106 process. So coming up in step 4, we resolve the adverse effects that were identified in the previous step by developing and considering alternatives or modifications to avoid, minimize, or mitigate the adverse effects identified. For the IBR program, these resolutions and mitigations will be documented in a Section 106 programmatic agreement, or sometimes abbreviated as a PA. So looking first in review at step 1, slide please. And step 2, I apologize. The area of potential effect was determined in 2023 and is located in portions of both Washington and Oregon, reflecting program components and design options under consideration. It is within this area of potential effect that historic properties have been identified and program effects have been analyzed as laid out in steps 2 and 3 of the Section 106 process. Slide, please. So the identification of historic properties in step 2 has been conducted and will be presented in these documents for public comment. There is one determination of eligibility document for each above ground historic resource identified that was considered potentially eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places, and why. The assessment of effects laid out in step 3 of the process has been conducted and will also be presented in the FOE documents for public comment, as noted. There, again, here is one document for each historic property that was determined eligible for a listing in the National Register of Historic Places. Within those findings of effects, the possible effect findings are an adverse effect, which is determined when a program activity may alter the characteristics of an historic property that make it significant. A no adverse effect, which is determined when a program activity will have an effect on an historic property, but will not alter the characteristics that make it significant. And no effect, which is determined when program activities will have no effect to an historic property. For both the identification process and the effects analysis process, consultation with Section 106 consulting parties occurred prior to finalizing these determinations. Additionally, all documents have been concurred with by the Oregon State Historic Preservation Office or the Washington Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation, respective to the state in which the property is located. Slide, please. This fall, there will be a cultural resources online open house to share details of these determinations of eligibility and findings of effect with the public and gather input. Then we will consider mitigation strategies for known identified adverse effects. Next, as part of step 4 in the Section 106 process, we will share a draft of the project level programmatic agreement, which will include roles and responsibilities of the agency and the consulting parties, agreed upon measures to resolve adverse effects, processes for the phased identification and evaluation of historic properties, and protocols for involving stakeholders in consultation as effects are identified and resolved. And finally, we will consult with the public regarding the draft of the programmatic agreement, which will include those mitigation measures as noted for Section 106 properties early next year. Slide, please. So how to participate in the Section 106 comment period. So as noted, the comment period will be held in October, starting on October 18th and ending on November 18th, separate but parallel to the draft SEIS public comment period. Participation can occur via the online open house, and comments can be shared via web-based form, email, or mail. Additional notifications will be sent out to notify the public when the Section 106 comment period begins. Slide, please. To close the Section 106 portion of this presentation, I wanted to make sure to share a few resource links in case you are interested in learning more about the Section 106 process. So the first link here is our current existing cultural resources subpage on the IBR website, which includes all of the information that we've shared with the public about Section 106 and our work to date. That will be updated in October at the open of our review and public comment period. The second link is the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation, which offers many great resources for the public to better understand the Section 106 process. And then finally, the Federal Highway Section 106 tutorial, which serves a very similar purpose to the ACHP, but is focused on infrastructure and transportation lens. Now, thank you very much for hearing this update on Section 106 today, and I'm happy to assist with any additional questions when the Q&A period is available. Thank you.
Great. Why don't we take some questions and comments now? Questions,
Great.
Comments for me? Questions, comments? Dina.
So as part of the plan that's being put forth, does it also carry forward into like construction as well, in terms of like establishing protocols for what to do if, like up at the city of Ridgefield or the Ridgefield exit off of I-5, when Tappanee Underground dug up a mammoth tusk, there was a lot of interesting things that happened in order to sort of lock the site down and get some assessments to determine that it, number one, wasn't human remains, but number two, to make sure that they were doing things according to the protocols if there was to be any kind of historic disturbance of any kind. So is that also spelled out, or does that come after when the contract is awarded for doing the work?
So that is all included in the Section 106 programmatic agreement. So when we get closer to the public outreach for the programmatic agreement, I am anticipating that we'll do a little bit more explanation as to what the agreement document landscape looks like for Section 106. But at this point, essentially, the programmatic agreement allows us to establish a process for conducting Section 106 after NEPA has been completed. And so as you note, all of those processes for what to do during construction will be laid out. It will also lay out how we will assess effects to resources that we identify after the NEPA process is concluded, how we would consult for mitigation of those effects, and every other kind of detail related to cultural resources that we need to make sure that there's agreement on with all of the Section 106 consulting parties, and of course, notifying the public accordingly.
Other questions, comments? Okay, well, thank you so much, Haley, for continuing to keep CAG updated and for your your obvious expertise in this area. It's a lot of folks don't understand all of the interworkings of mega projects, and this is really a critical element. So thank you for that. Next up, absolutely, thank you. Next up, we have Kadina. Kadina is Yurkin is our public affairs lead. And Kadina is here to update us on the draft supplemental environmental impact statement public comment period process, as well as what you all can expect as to next steps. Welcome, Kadina.
Thanks, Johnell. Slides. While those are popping up. Thanks for having me this afternoon. I'm excited to be here and share a few more details with you about the comment period. I know my colleagues Hannah Williams was here last month as well as Kimberly Webb. And so I'm going to continue on and share a little bit more information. You got some insight last month, but we have more details. And so I'm happy to share those with you today. Next slide. All right, so Greg had the big announcement. We are, gosh, I guess it's a week from tomorrow. We will be releasing our draft supplemental environmental impact statement, and we will have a 60-day public comment period. We have been working so hard to get to this date, and we are very excited that we're going to be able to share all this work with the public and hear what they think about it. So we have been, as a public affairs team, we've been very busy this week trying to get the word out that we have the dates for the public comment period. And so on the left here of the screen is one of our social media ads that we posted on Monday. We've been doing a lot of other things to get the word out, and I just wanted to share a few of those with you. We've sent out a lot of emails, including to our partner agencies and elected officials. We've also sent emails to a variety of organizations that have engaged with us at some point along the last 4 years. So those could be community-based organizations, neighborhood associations, business associations, interest groups, environmental groups, you name it. We've kept track of all those and have sent out emails. We also sent a blast, an e-newsletter blast. If you are signed up for that, are a subscriber, you would have received that on Monday. We also put a big banner on our website to let people know we have dates. And then we are sending out additional social media ads, posting those regularly. Hopefully you guys have seen some of them. Next slide. All right, I think Greg mentioned this in his opening remarks. I guess it was so it was last month in August when Hannah and Kimberly were here. They gave you a little preview of this briefing. Kimberly shared some slides about what we were going to talk about at these August pre-release briefings with the public. And we really did want to explain the NEPA process. We wanted to share, some of the topics that were in the document so people could be prepared. We talked about what makes a good comment, and then we had a Q&A session following all of that. And so on Tuesday, August 20th, we had about 60 people participate, and some of the themes from the questions you can see there. And then on Saturday, we had a few less people attend. We're just over 20. And then you can see some of the questions there, the topic areas. I know I did tune into the one on Saturday, and I did hear someone ask how they could join an advisory group. So that was a great question. One of the other questions we got at that meeting that I think maybe wasn't answered clearly was about attaching photos to comments. And so I'm going to address that one in just a minute. Next slide. I should say too, if you didn't see those briefings and you're interested in them, they are on our YouTube channel. So you can go back and check out the recording. So on this slide, we share the comment methods. I know that Hannah went over this last month, but it's really important. And we want to provide people with a variety of ways to make public comment. And so this first one here, online comment form. So this isn't up quite yet, but it will be posted on September 20th when we post the actual document on our website. And there will be, I think I have later in this presentation, a little clip of our webpage, but you will be able to read a summary of the findings, and then you will be able to access the document itself. It will be in chapters, and then there will be a comment form, and you can use that comment form to provide your comments. You can also come to one of our public hearings, which I'll talk about in a moment, and you can leave public comment with a court reporter. You would also be able to use a tablet to provide your comments at those public hearings. You can send an email. We have a special email address for this comment period. It's draft, SEIS, @interstatebridge.org. That will not open up until that comment inbox won't open up until September 20th. But and you'll be able to find the address on our website if you didn't catch it. We also wanted people to be able to leave a voicemail. Some people prefer to just call up and speak their comment into the phone, and it gets transcribed and then sent to us. So that's an option as well. There will be a greeting in multiple languages. So we are trying to hear from everyone who wants to provide a comment. What happens when we get a comment in another languages, we send it off to a translation firm and they send it back to us so that it'll become part of the record. And then lastly, we have physical mail. If anybody likes snail mail, we are more than happy to accept a letter from you. And our address will be on the website on the comment page. Next slide. Oh, wait, before you move on, or you can leave it there. It's okay. So I wanted to address the question we got about with your comment, can you attach photos or graphics? And the answer is no. Unfortunately, we can't take attachments. So if you have a graphic or a photo, the best thing to do is embed it into your content. So within the text of your comment, if you send it via email, you need to embed those graphics or photos into the comment. We also cannot accept videos. That's when I think we got a question about whether videos are acceptable. And the reason is that we are going to respond to every comment that we receive in the final EIS. And so ultimately, it has to be in a text format. And so with a video, we can't really put that in a final EIS. So the best way to deal with a video for us is if you put that video, if you transcribe it yourself and put it into either an email or the comment form and then send it to us. Alternatively, you could also, play the video into the voicemail and it would transcribe it for us. So there are some options. It's unfortunate we can't take videos, but at this time it's just difficult for us. All right, next slide. All right, engagement opportunities. I know people have a lot of questions about how can they hear about the findings? Can they come to open houses? How are you doing all of that? And so this is a table of the upcoming opportunities to join us and learn more. And these are not quite on our website, on our calendar quite yet, but they will be very soon. And so the first up is a briefing, a virtual briefing, where we're going to describe the findings. We're going to summarize the findings and share those with you in a virtual briefing. We're going to have one on October 1st and October 9th. So overview of the findings, and there'll be a Q&A. This is not an opportunity to give an oral comment. You can ask questions, hear responses, but you would have to then write an email or go to the comment form and provide a comment. The second type of opportunity is an in-person open house, also a public hearing. We're going to have one in Vancouver and one in Portland. And I think our next slide has a little bit more detail. But these are in-person opportunities where you can leisurely walk around the room, read display boards, ask our staff questions. And then we'll have court reporters available for you to give oral comment, or we'll have tablets like I mentioned earlier, and you could type in a comment. So those, as I said, 15th and 17th. Virtual public hearings, we're going to also have two of those, October 26th and October 30th. Those are, there will not be a presentation as part of those. It is an opportunity to tell our staff your thoughts in a 2-minute comment. And then we are continuing out there in the community. We continue to go to fairs, festivals. We have tables where we talk to people about the program. I think we still have a few more coming up. We've got the Vietnamese community of Clark County Moon Festival this Saturday. We'll be there tabling. Stop by, say hi. We also have the Portland St. John's Farmers Market coming up on the 5th. And then this is brand new news. We just got accepted to the Vancouver's Luminarias Dia de Muertos on the 19th. So a couple of opportunities to come out and ask questions. We're also working with the Community Engagement Liaisons Services to plan some in-language presentations. And we don't have dates on those quite yet, so I encourage you to check our calendar on our website. And then lastly, we have ongoing office hours. I think this is a really unique opportunity. If you find something in the draft SEIS and you want to dig a little deeper into it and understand it, you can go to our website and sign up for a 30-minute one-on-one slot with our staff to ask questions. We can point you to the right place in the document. We can go over the document with you, whatever you might need. Next slide. So as I mentioned, the open house and public hearing. So here are the locations. So in Vancouver, it'll be at Clark College at Geyser Hall. And in Portland, we'll be at the Expo Center, Exhibit Hall E. And here are the times, 5:30 to 8:30. You can stop by at any time. You won't miss anything if you come an hour later or 2 hours into the event. And as I noted, display boards will also have some videos on loop running that are kind of educational, and you can watch those. We will have, again, court reporters and tablets to collect comments, and we will have an area of the room in both locations where folks can talk to our staff about any property impacts. We are sending out letters to people who may have property impacts, and this is an opportunity they can also speak with staff. Next slide. All right, notifications. So we've done a lot already this week to let people know about the comment period. But on next Friday, September 20th, we are going to send out a very large, an email to a very large distribution group. And we will also, just so you know, there is a postcard that's going to be mailed to approximately 90,000 people along the program corridor. And we are also, believe it or not, we're going to have a billboard on Hayden Island. You may have seen it before if you've ever been stuck in traffic. We're going to, just for 30 days, have an announcement to send us your comments. Read the document, let us know what you think. We'll also update our website. Of course, the document will be there, but there will also be a summary of findings. There's also an executive summary if you want to just go ahead and read that. It's 80 pages. It might be a nice intro, and we will have that translated into 7 or 8 languages so others can read it as well. We will have lots more social media posts about our comment period. We also have a partner toolkit that I'll talk about in just a moment. We want to make sure you get that partner toolkit, but also our partner agencies and other elected officials who may be able to spread the word about the document and the comment period. And of course, we'll be doing a lot of media outreach. It's a really good way to broadly distribute our messages. Next slide. The partner toolkit, just to give you a little sneak peek into what is in the partner toolkit and how you might be able to utilize it. There will be social media posts. You can just grab them and post them on your own channels. We'll have graphics and photos if you prefer to use something like that and create your own message. You can do that. We'll have newsletter content. If you or your organization sends out a regular newsletter, there'll be a blurb you can pull and add it to your newsletter. There'll be some background information in case people don't understand the environmental process or want a little bit more information. And then we'll have some talking points too. If you're out there talking to people and you just want some high-level talking points about what it is and how people can participate, those will be available for you to use as well. Next slide. So this is the postcard, a little preview of the postcard. It is getting printed as we speak and will be mailed out next week. Again, 90,000 addresses will receive this. And not only does it mention the draft SEIS, but it also mentions the Section 106 comment period that Haley talked about earlier. Just a quick preview of that. So this postcard will go to residents, tenants, businesses, property owners. It's a pretty wide distribution list. Next slide. Here's a little sneak peek of the website, just to give you a flavor for what it will look like on September 20th. There is information there now, but it will be updated. You'll be able to easily access the document, find the comment form, and find a summary of the findings. And next slide. I think we have some questions for you, perhaps. Yes. I don't know how this usually works, but we do have some questions for you and would love to hear your thoughts. And if you have questions, I'm more than happy to try to address those as well. I don't know if we want to do questions for me first and then come back to these slides.
Yeah, so within the context of as you're asking questions, if you could also cover this as well. 2 pieces here. Do you feel prepared to read and comment on the draft SEIS? And the second part is, are you able to share information about the comment period with your networks? Is there anything you need from us to help spread the word that we haven't mentioned today? And our team will be taking notes. With that, we'll go to Tom and then Sam.
All right. In response to the questions you've asked, I would say yes and yes. I do feel prepared to comment and do feel prepared to reach out to my networks. But the question that I have of the team, Kadena, is I have advocated in the past for public access to the comments as they come in. And so far the reaction has been, well, I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no. But I think it's an important tool for everybody to kind of see what the accumulated questions are. Even though we don't have the answers yet, we would like to know what is sort of the I mean, I feel like if I can read other people's comments, that will better inform my thinking and my ability to form my own comments. And so I'm hoping that the team or the IBR will be making those comments available for public review as they accumulate, and not waiting until the end of the comment period to respond to them, and then we find out what are the issues that are troubling the community. So my question is that possible, and will that happen?
That is a great question. I remember you asking that last month, and I apologize that we didn't get an answer back to you. That is a question for the environmental team, and I probably shouldn't take guesses, but I think it would be really challenging for us to, as those comments come in, turn around and post them somewhere. It is something I can dig into a little deeper offline and get back to you specifically, Tom. But I don't know if Greg or anyone else on the line here today has any thoughts on that.
So Tom, I believe we do have that question in to our federal partners. Once again, this is a federal process. And what we do here, a precedence that we set here will get asked to be done everywhere. So we can't say, yes, we're going to do it without having our federal partners say, yes, this is a good idea that we can duplicate everywhere in the country. So we'll get that question asked and answered. Some folks don't want their questions attributed publicly to them. And I know we could strip names from it, but those are the type of issues that you have to face, once again, with this being a federal process. But we will get that question, track down the answer to it.
Okay, I see Sam and Ed's hands up. So Sam, do you want to go ahead and ask your question first?
Yeah, so my answer is yes and no. I have reviewed draft EIS reports before for other issues. I have to tell you, if this is anything like it, and the IBR project is way bigger than these other projects, and these smaller projects were over 1,000 pages. So I actually read them all previously. I suspect this is at least 1,000 pages, if not more. So I think I think it'd be great for me to personally attend these virtual briefings, and maybe even the open house public hearings, so that I can hear about it in a more condensed form. Because I have to tell you, after reading about 200 pages, your eyes kind of glaze over, and you just kind of speed read the rest of that stuff. So I learned a lot about environment and artifacts and hydrology and so forth, but I think it is what the engagement update that you have presented is going to be much more effective than Sam Kim with his eyes glazed over trying to explain a couple thousand pages of information to everybody else.
That's a great comment, Sam. It is a very long document. And we
knew it.
We do break it down into chapters, and we tell you what's in those chapters so you can hone in on things that are of interest to you. We know not everybody cares to the same level about the same things. And so we try to make it easy to find what you're looking for. We also, that's why we're doing these briefings to kind of break down the findings and share with you some of the key findings. we will record those briefings. So if you aren't able to make the one that's there, you can go back and listen to it. The summary of those findings will also be on our website. So that might be a good starting point for people who might feel overwhelmed, is to start with the key findings. And I will also pitch again the office hours. If there's something you're reading about that you don't understand or just want to ask questions, set up one of those office hours appointments. We ask what you want to talk about so that we can make sure the right staff are in the meeting.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Ed.
Yes, I'm just sorry to tell you, I need to leave now. I have these things that are backed up, and I just want to thank you all for your participation tonight. And I'm sorry I can't be here for the rest of it, and I hope you understand. So, good night.
Thanks, Ed.
Bye.
Always appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Okay, Zachary.
Awesome, thank you. The two questions, I kind of share Sam's sentiment. It's thousands of pages, Sam, is my understanding. Maybe we'll get an actual number tonight. I don't know. Maybe it'll scare us off though. But I share this idea of like, we're really trying to engage just the regular old folks who are going to be impacted by this. That's an impossible ask, to be frank, of folks. So I just want to flag that we're all nerds on the call. We're like IBR nerds. And I think all of us are kind of glazed over when we're talking about thousands of pages. So I certainly share Sam's concern. And to the second question, happy to spread in the Oregon Walks network. I had a couple questions, and should I say share them both? Is that okay? Or the few? Is that okay? So the one was, my curiosity is, how is success measured? Like when we get to the end of the comment period, when does IBR, when you do an assessment of the outreach, was it effective? Not just by quantity of comments, but by the quality and who of comments, like who actually was engaged and who did provide, like, what are the metrics that you all are going into this saying, at the end of this period, this was success? Because like, I'm looking at those numbers, and again, I'm not meaning this like critically or something, but it is like a big flag for me that those two events had 60 and 20 people at them. And we're in a population of 2.5, I think, million people in our region. I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, like there are a lot of people, to Greg's point, like who don't know about this, who are just not aware. And so I just want to know, going into this period, like what constitutes success, not just on quantity, but quality, that we hit the groups, all groups, lots of different diverse voices. So that's one thing I'd like to hear about. And then the second question I have, and maybe this is a Greg question, is, there's going to be so much time, staff time and energy and hours on the IBR team, advocacy groups, community groups, citizens, lay people. And when we get to the back end, what kind of changes do we expect? Like, I guess that's what I'm curious about. Like, is this like a song and dance where we get to the back end, we go, thanks for all these comments, off we go? Or what kind of things in the past in other programs of substance have changed about programs because the community spoke up and said, flag, these things, we need to see changes? And I just don't have enough expertise, but I don't think this is the first rodeo for a number of people on this call. So I would love to hear, like, what actually changes? What in the program really meaningful shifts as a result of this massive workload that you all are doing right now?
Greg, okay, you're working on your mute.
Well, let me jump in
on
a couple of these. Your first question, Zach, of how do we determine success? If we are just looking at, okay, 10 people commented, that's not a measure of success. What a measure is what have we done up to this point to get people engaged? All of the outreach, all of the things that we have been doing over the last 3.5, 4 years to make people aware of this program, to make them aware of how to interact with it. That's where you measure. You measure the efforts that were put in, not on the back end, but what was done on the front end, to say, have we had a process that has reached out into the community. So we, once again, the things we did with having micro grants to community-based organizations to reach into hard to get to communities. Those are, to me, the measures of has this team done everything could possibly do to get people engaged with this program. I can't guarantee you that 1,000 people are going to comment or 10,000 people are going to comment. But what I can guarantee you is that we have made yeoman efforts to notify people, to be on social media, to be everywhere where people have asked us, and many places where they didn't ask us to be, to get this word out about the program. So if only 10 people come in or 10 people show up at the event, I don't know if I'll call that a failure. If we didn't do the amount of outreach that we've done, I would call that a failure. So, and repeat your second question again. You're on mute.
I can't hear you.
I said lots of smart things, I'm sure. The question is,
I'm sure you did.
Oh yeah. The question is, what changes when there's going to be a ton of effort from your team, a ton of effort from community to do all these comments, and what changes as a result of the back end? There's been other projects that have had big projects, and what changed as a result of public comment? What is up in the air that community can expect to see their comments and their efforts might move?
So if we get a sense of, for instance, if folks say, boy, I really, really like, and we get just an overwhelming amount of voices that say, I like a single level design option. Or folks say, boy, I really like one auxiliary lane versus 2 auxiliary lanes. That will give us a sense of this is an issue we need to dive into further as we get to the final supplemental. There's not going to be one person, well, I shouldn't say it, maybe someone will come up with a magic bullet, one person that says something that opens the skies up and we say yes. But generally, it's a sense of the community. It's a sense of all of the folks saying something that says, okay, our program has said this, the community says this en masse. Those type of things can change. They can change direction. Some of the things that we think that comments will change will be some of the finer design details where folks will tell us, have you thought about the connectivity between this community and that community? Have you thought about how walking and biking can be enhanced if you do this? Those are some of the things we expect to hear, and those things we will take forward with us as we get into further design. And those are generally, folks don't comment on the big picture. Folks like to say, okay, what impacts me directly? In my experience, that's what I've seen in a lot of the comments that come in on documents like this. But every now and then you will see the community have a sense of this rather than that. And that will impact how we look and how we craft that final document. So this is not just a kabuki dance of saying, yeah, comment and we're going to ignore it. No, if the comments are meaningful, we're going to look into every one that is said and give a response back. And if it changes the way we think about things, then we will incorporate that.
I also wonder if I could maybe prompt you, Greg, and maybe even you, Johnell, in kind of a different capacity than you're showing up to this meeting. I think some of the community benefits have an impact in terms of feedback that we hear through the SEIS is impacting, we'll be able to understand how it aligns with the CAG's priorities and the areas that have been important for this group. And EAG has an equity framework, and we have the community benefits agreement. I think there are multiple ways we've already demonstrated how community feedback has influenced both the process and then the eventual outcome. I know the equity roundtable from this week might even have some good insights that might help to answer some of these questions for you as well. But I just wonder if some of those other elements that have been moving simultaneously also will benefit from the feedback that we receive through this really big public comment period.
Yeah, it goes to the point that if we were waiting on this final step in the draft supplemental process to hear from the community, we have failed. Once again, by having this community advisory group, by having the equity advisory group, community benefits, those processes in itself has, we have gotten tremendous input that have helped drive some of our decisions. When we were talking about, when the transit team came and presented some of their ideas on transit, and we heard from you guys, those are things that make a difference in how this project gets shaped. Once again, if none of that existed and we waited until the public came to talk to us at a draft supplemental open house, we failed. So I think that a lot of the upfront work that has been done has helped to inform and shape and move this program in ways that is respectful of the community's desires. Things such as the smaller footprint for an interchange on Hayden Island. We heard from everybody on the island that the current interchange is too intrusive. It's just, it eats up too much. It cuts the island off. So that's an issue that we dealt with early on. Instead of waiting to hear that comment at a public hearing, we heard it from the community early on, and we took action to make that as part of our proposed scenario to move forward. So once again, I think we've been doing smart things all along with the help of groups like this. And we hope that we get more comments. And if folks have bright ideas that have not come out of any of our interactions with the public, we're going to take those and we're going to act on them.
Zachary, you look like you might have a follow-up, but you're thinking and processing.
I don't know how provocative I want to be from my previous life, but I guess I will be, which is, Greg, I appreciate that comment about, like, if we work our butts off and we can be proud of that, that matters. My life before this work was a teacher, and then I was an administrator. And I can't tell you how many times I heard from my colleagues and then from the teachers who I worked with, and this is not to denigrate them, but it is to be critical. I worked my butt off. Kids couldn't learn, kids didn't do it. And that kind of what that feels like to me. And it's like, I think that we have to have some metrics on the back end for us to feel like we were successful in getting community voice on this, not just say, did we work on the front end? And I don't know if that'll change anything right now, but that's what it welled up in me, where I was just kind of like, I know your team is working hard. That's not what I don't, but I think even if you work really hard, you've got to hold yourself accountable to some metrics on the back end to say, were we successful? That's all.
And I hear you, but once again, I can't make people come out and participate and comment. What I can do is give them the venue to do it. And we've been giving folks that venue and telling them about this through our social media, through every interview that we've done. We will continue to do that, and we will put out the metrics of who has responded, but I don't necessarily know if that is the end all and be all of measurements of success.
Yeah, maybe just to build upon that a little bit. I mean, I think part of that is the beauty of having a community advisory group is this is where we really need your help and all of your networks to again lean in with the program and ensure that we are hitting those places where folks don't ordinarily hear about. I mean, even the terminology is not one that anyone uses around a kitchen table, and so we're going to have to really spell this process and what it means. And the reality is, this is sort of it's a big significant milestone for the program, but it's the beginning of the conversation in the public in terms of whether or not the program is on the right track or wrong track from the public's perspective. As Greg indicated, all of the work that this group, as well as community advisory group, the community benefits advisory group and the equity advisory group, that you all have been dedicating your hours of volunteer time over the past 3 years was sort of on the front end. Again, recall that our definition of equity is both the process and the outcome. So that was the process side. Now you all get to sort of judge, and the public gets to judge the outcome, right? Are those comments reflected? Is that vision reflected? And if not, there's another opportunity of refining it prior to us getting to the final environmental documents, and then of course a record of decision. So this is just the beginning of that public conversation to make sure that we are engaging everyone.
And one last comment, and this is a phenomenon that everybody will see in any aspect of life. Folks who disagree with you will show up in hordes. Folks who agree with you say, I'm fine with this. I have no need to comment. And so those type of things can skew the perception, but we have been encouraging everybody, whether you have something negative to say, something positive to say, come and say it. So we want to hear from everyone. But Bill, you've been waiting patiently. So
yeah, I was just going to say thank you, Greg and Johnell.
Mine is just real short too. It just, Zach, I think that there's a lot of the things that we're going to hear. They have already heard in the whole scope of things, and we'll have good answers. Now there might be a few things that come up that need to be considered and reviewed. But I think overall, since we've been working at this for 4 years, at least, I think they will hear the same things maybe over again that somebody didn't have, and they'll have an answer for it. And we don't have to spend, maybe they don't have to spend as much time on that end as we could. Now, I could be wrong, but they've done a good job of explaining that we've gotten a lot of places out there, a lot of word out, and given a lot of opportunities for people to give input. And if all of a sudden they're waiting for this now, if this document that comes out has a lot of things that people have questions on, that may be just a matter of explaining what they've written in there. But for instance, I'll just give an example. Awami has a committee that they put together and meet with Greg and the staff periodically. And Greg's been to our facility at least twice or 3 times to our public meetings that we have to talk about what's going on. And of course, we have a lot of contractors that are looking at the projects and whatnot in the future. But I think that's an example of the kinds of things that's going to happen. That most of the questions have been asked at least once somewhere before, may be new to the people that have finally decided to get involved. So I think they do have to look at them and respond to them, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't want to say it's not going to be tough, but it's not going to be as bad as I think we think of a tidal wave or something coming in. So that's just my 2 cents in there.
Thanks, Bill. Sam?
Yeah, I think this is a really incredibly valuable discussion. May I offer, since this is we're going on 4th year, and if I'm going to be with this group for 10 more years, I think Zach does have a point that we would like to see metrics, key performance indicators, progress, OKRs, whatever you want to call it, And maybe we can just start really basic. That is, as we do these community engagement, maybe hand out survey cards that they could turn in that says that I now understand what this is all about, or I had my questions answered, or some sort of a survey that indicates that, I'm still confused or something like that. I think kind of collecting that baseline over time, over different events, perhaps we could say that, hey, we are becoming way more effective, or we've always been really effective. I think that would be really useful 10 years later.
Thank
I
you,
like
Sam.
I like the idea of the thought. I wish you'd have said that 4 years ago, Sam. We'd have been collecting that data now.
Exactly. I just thought of it, but 10 more years, it's never too late.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe I'll just add, I think there is a lot of data that has already been connected that is in alignment with our CE engagement goals that has been influenced by the community advisory group's values. And so I think perhaps there's also a challenge back out to the CAG in terms of, are there metrics that you think that align with those community values that would help the program be able to consider as we move forward? Kadena, is there anything else maybe you might want to add, or?
Well, when Sam mentioned the survey, I know we have done some surveys to really understand what people understand about a project and a process like this. And in fact, we are just finalizing our survey for the 2 briefings that we held in August, those pre draft SEIS briefings, to see, was it helpful? Did you get what you needed from them? And so those will be going out probably early next week. So we will, and of course we save all of those things for eternity. So we will be able to summarize that. If the other thing is people have to take them, right? We can put the surveys out there, but people have to take them, and if we get a fair number of them, we can come back and summarize what we heard.
Thanks, Kadena. I think that sparked now another question or comment, maybe from Michaela. So this will be the last one before we transition to the next section. Michaela?
Hi, sorry, friends. I'm driving home from school, but I just kind of popped in the middle of this discussion, kind of question and answer period. And I just wanted to say that I think that one of the things about this IBR program in particular is the fact that, like, we're not reinventing the wheel, in the sense that we already had a record of decision and a supplemental EIS for the last Columbia River Crossing project. And I think that, one of the issues with that program was that the community felt like they weren't involved enough. And I just am really commendable also being on the CAG for the last 4 years, just in the way that the resurgence of the program has really centered the community first. And I think that that's something that we don't want to lose sight of as we kind of.
I think we lost you, Michaela. Can you hear me? Okay, that was a really good comment that you were making. So if she comes back, then we'll see if at the end of the meeting we're able to hear Michaela finish her feedback. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and transition us to our next section. That is on active transportation and the role map. So we have Steve Katko with us. He's our IBR design lead. And so I'm going to transition over to Steve.
Hi, excuse me. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, great. Good afternoon. It's great to be here. I am with the design team for IBR in support of the draft SEIS. So we're here to provide the information for the environmentalists and the planners to document that information. And I'm here today to raise awareness of a new tool that we have, a new plot that's of the corridor that's now posted onto the website. So if we could go to the next slide, we could probably just jump to that. It's going to dovetail into the conversation that I think we've just been having about engagement and project understanding and not wanting to have thousands of pages that our eyes glaze over and reading a draft SEIS. So this is a tool that I think will help facilitate learning and communicating the design that's being studied in the draft SEIS. If I could step back a little bit, if you may recall last fall, the program released images and videos depicting how drivers would navigate the interchanges to and from the neighborhoods that are in the program area. That was well received by people who viewed those. It really helped to communicate how the infrastructure out there would work for users. We did, though, get feedback that a similar product for how active transportation users would use the facilities would also be helpful. And so we've taken that to heart and have started to develop that. And that's what you're seeing here today. So the first step in doing this is creating this active transportation role plot that you see in front of you. There are videos, I'll talk about the videos in a second in a little bit more detail, but there are videos that are still finishing production. They're not quite ready to be posted online. There's still a little bit of tweaking that's going on, but they will essentially use this image as a background to highlight those active transportation movements. So as I said, this plot is online now. And so really the ask of this group is, go out, take a look at it. It's available now prior to the release of the draft SEIS. Communicate this out to your groups that you're a part of. Again, this is all to help raise awareness and really get the comments going on active transportation. Let's jump to the next slide. It's a big plot, I realize that. So what I've done is I've kind of zoomed in on a few areas just to kind of get into some of the more details. The plot is not outside of the draft SEIS, so the information that is shown in it will also be reflected in the draft SEIS, and the draft SEIS will go into a lot more detail than what we can simply show on a two-dimensional roll plot. If it looks somewhat familiar, it should. The basis for the plot was the program roll plot that has been posted and available online for well over a year now. That represents the modified LPA. So what we did is we started with that roll plot and really faded back the auto facilities and then really pumped up or highlighted the active transportation facilities. So they popped up a little bit more and were a little bit easier for people to follow. So what you're seeing on this plot is, if you look on the right side, it's just a screenshot of the active transportation legend versus the roll plot of the program corridor that came out back in 2023. So we've expanded upon what we're showing for active transportation. We've tried to get into not just identifying shared use paths, but where we have certainly the two-way shared use paths, but also where sidewalks are or where bikeways are, and not trying to delineate what those bike lanes or bikeways looked like at this point. And also highlighting crosswalks and where there is at-grade light rail crossings, and we'll get into that, but there are two locations where there are two at-grade rail crossings that show up in the plot. I'll say that this is this map does, just like the other map, it does not reflect final decisions or final design or any final directions. We're obviously waiting to hear public feedback and get comments on the facilities that we're showing. But again, it's to help spur those conversations and spur those comments. The lines that you see on here are graphical representations. We're not trying to represent widths with these or grades or elevations or anything like that. A lot of that information will be documented in the draft SEIS when it comes out. Let's go to the next slide. So roll plots are very hard to show in a PowerPoint presentation. It's a big area. It's 5 miles that we're trying to show. So I've taken some zoomed in snippets to try to just orient people towards what they will see when they go on the roll plot. So again, green represents the two-way shared use paths. The purple color that you see is simply just a typical sidewalk. Yellow represents a one-way bikeway facility. The orange is the light rail extension. So we're looking at Marine Drive right now. You can see the Expo Center and the Expo Station is there. It's underneath the line work. And then, as I said earlier, you can see the 2 active transportation facility crossings of the light rail with those little railroad crossing symbols. And those are the only 2 locations where we actually have an at-grade crossing of rail with active transportation. As I said, work is underway on the videos to depict how users will go from, for example, Delta Park to Hayden Island or to downtown Vancouver. I think they also will demonstrate how users will get to and from areas in neighborhoods to the nearest transit stations, both on the Oregon side and the Washington side. Let's go to the next slide. So again, this is just walking up the corridor. So because we don't have input on all the different configurations, so we're still carrying the double-decker bridge option as well as the single level bridge option. And so we wanted to reflect those facilities for both those options. So you can see Hayden Island on the left and downtown Vancouver on the right. And the top view is the double deck with the active transportation underneath on the lower level of the double decker. And then the image on the bottom of the slide is the single level where the active transportation is on the east side of the bridge. This also, you can see the ramps, the helixes or the paper clips or however you want to refer to it, but the ramps going from the bridge deck down to ground level on either side on Hayden Island and on the Vancouver waterfront. I think you probably are all aware that there is a grade difference at both these locations. So for the Hayden Island, and again, it depends on the bridge configuration and the bridge type, but we are about, on Hayden Island, we're about 50 to 55 feet above ground level, right at the water's edge there. On the Vancouver side, we're about 80 to 90 feet from bridge deck to ground level. And again, that will is subject to the bridge configuration that ultimately gets decided upon. Again, so this is just a two-dimensional graphical view of it with grades, elevation differences, all that will be discussed in the SEIS. So this is really meant to just be a supplemental, or not a supplemental, but a companion piece to the draft SEIS to really allow you to get into some of the more details and see it all in one image. Go to the next slide. This is the downtown Vancouver portion of the active transportation. So what we did in a few areas is we did some inserts. That's those red dashed lines there. So in the roll plot, you'll see these inserts. And what we tried to do was remove the overhead facilities. So in this case, that would be the freeway. And in that lower image, we pulled that off or dashed it out so that you could really see the local street network beneath the overhead infrastructure, just to help simply clarify and allow a better view of what's happening underneath there. But again, as we looked at active transportation facilities and matching them into existing facilities and planned facilities, so for Vancouver, the Main Street extension, as well as tying into Columbia Street and Columbia Way. And I think that's, oh, I should also mention the community connector. So this view takes you all the way up to Evergreen, and then it continues on the roll plot all the way up to SR 500. But I really just focused on this core area here for this presentation. So the community connector is shown, which will also provide active transportation movements over the freeway to connect the east and west sides. And we'll continue to work with our partners on development of their adjacent projects so that we make sure that our active transportation facilities match up against what they're planning or proposing. And the next slide, I think that's just wraps up here again with the active transportation before we open it up to questions. But again, the roll plot's available. I always find it on the website just under the LPA web page. So now there's two you can see down on the lower bottom. There's not just the program corridor roll plot, but one for the active transportation. The videos are coming. They're not quite ready yet. I imagine they'll be linked here as well in the next few days.
Maybe weeks, Steve.
Maybe
next
weeks.
Couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't know the latest, but yes, it's
yeah.
in progress.
They'll be on our website. I'm sure we'll use social media to get them out as well. So look for that.
Yeah, so this is just, it was more for awareness and to amplify that this information is available. You know, I'd encourage everybody to go out and look at it, click around in it, tell your groups and your communities about it, just as we said earlier, so that we can make sure that this information is out and available for comment.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Are there questions for Steve? Okay.
Really, no questions about active transportation.
Wow.
Great. Save it up for the
okay, here we go.
That's great.
Lynn's ready.
I can't figure out how to do the electronic hand raise, so I'm going old school. Oh, thank you. Somebody took pity on me. I appreciate it. I just wanted to clarify, of the information that we just saw, is all of that wrapped into the draft supplemental that is being published on Friday? Yeah.
Yeah. So the roll plot in its entirety is not going to necessarily be in there. You'll see images and cut sheets of that in the draft SEIS itself, but seeing it all in one roll plot this is the way to do it.
Well, one of the things that I observe about this group is that there's a lot of people that are very interested in the active transportation elements. And so as we acknowledge several thousand pages of documents, I want to just take us up on the challenge that there's sections and there's pieces. And I think that the pieces that were represented here with additional detail would really benefit from some of us really digging in and imagining trying to go these, where are the places you would go, how would you use it, so that then you can kind of navigate it. Because that's, I think what Greg was saying, is that's when the community can really dig in a way that planners might just see differently. So I think having this group get this preview is just super valuable. And I want to encourage us that we don't have to read all several thousand pages necessarily, but if this is where your interests lie, dig into these pages so that we can get comments out for the team. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we're rolling through today. All right, so it's about time when we are getting ready to open up for public comment. So why don't we go ahead and bring up the slides for what's next. We have our equity advisory group that is meeting September 16th from 5:30 to 7:30. Our community benefits advisory group meeting that's set for September 26th, 9:30 to 11:30. And then we're back again together, Community Advisory Group, October 10th from 4 to 6 p.m. All right, public comments. I think that we do have a couple folks that are planning to provide public comments. So Amanda, do we have folks that are signed up and ready? I think there's a few slides here on our public comment directions, or are we ready to go?
Yeah, we have one person lined up.
Okay, excellent. In case you are interested and you're not ready to join our Zoom room, we'll just make sure that you recognize the ways in which you can participate in this meeting. You can call via phone and dial 1-646-931-3860, meeting ID 986-0940-5983. Our passcode is 701376. And Amanda will let you into the Zoom room, and then you can dial *9 to raise your hand. I'll call on you, *6 to unmute. We ask that you do provide your name and affiliation. We try to allow 10 minutes. We do have some time tonight for the public to address our community advisory group. So if you are calling in, then we're ready to hear from you. Okay. Amanda, are we, let's see. Looks like maybe we have one person joining the Zoom room.
Got one, I'll pull up the timer.
Okay. I'm gonna make sure that I pronounce your name correctly. So is it Machu Williams from Southeast Uplift?
Yes,
Okay.
you nailed it. Perfect.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the space with our community advisory group. We have about 2 minutes. We'd love to hear any feedback that you have for the group.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to provide comment today. As you know, my name is Machu Williams. I'm the Planning Liaison Manager at Southeast Uplift Neighborhood Coalition. We are a nonprofit that collaborates with the community to build informed, inclusive, and participatory neighborhoods that support our social and ecological well-being for over 167,000 people in Portland's District 3. So our mission is to help people and have groups engaged in shaping their community and participate in public processes, such as the Interstate Bridge Project or Replacement Program. We frequently translate materials in multiple languages, for example. We meet people where they are, both figuratively and literally. And, I personally work with community groups all day, every day, many of them entirely run by volunteers who juggle work, family, and community involvement. Their time to participate is limited. So first, I want to thank you for providing multiple ways to provide for people to participate in this public comment. Please keep it going. This is a historic moment for the region, and we need to get it right and hear from the community in whatever format they are comfortable with. So with that in mind, I'm here today because many of our neighbors and groups are accustomed to submitting comments with attachments, including previous draft SEIS public comments, which have allowed attachments. So often, data-rich content, whether it's photographs, illustrations, diagrams, exceed the file size limit on email communications. So this limitation presents a necessary barrier. So I would just ask that a solution be found to remove this restriction and support public participation. For example, accepting certain file formats such as PDFs would be a small yet significant way to encourage public participation, or allowing sequential email comments that are read sequentially to provide for lengthier comments if needed with those limited file images attachments. So limiting how people can provide comment creates negative perceptions on how the public process is conducted. Public trust and faith in government is strained, and we should be finding ways to build trust with the community instead of pushing them away because they want to attach a file to their comment. So thank you for your time and consideration of this request.
Thank you for being with the CAG tonight. Appreciate your feedback. Amanda, it doesn't sound like there's anyone else that is interested in providing public comment. Just want to confirm that's still the case.
You are correct. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, at this point, I will just see if either my co-facilitator, Johnell, or our program administrator, Greg Johnson, have any comments that you want to share before Lynn closes out the meeting tonight.
Well, I do have a comment, and I've been giving thought to the earlier discussion about measures of success. Communities can take their fate into their own hands. That's what we have learned from the past in our transportation history. Before, communities didn't have a voice. Before, agencies just came in and said, this is what you're getting. But we have, over the last 50, 60 years, been creating atmospheres where folks can come and have their voice heard to help change and shape programs like this. We are at that juncture of this program where the public can come out and tell us what they think. So to me, this is key critical. We can't come and usher you to a public hearing. We can encourage you to come. We can make it comfortable. We can make it convenient for you to be there. So my ask of the members of this body is to go and talk to your sphere of influence and tell them, come on out. Whether you like it, whether you hate it, come and make your voice heard. So I implore you to help us to get the word out, help us to get people to come and make their voice heard on this program.
Thank you, Greg. Lynn,
So I'm just going to pick up. Yeah, I'm going to pick up on that as I close this out. We all joined CAG to make a difference and to represent our communities within this project and this process. And this is one of the action times. This is when we get out. I'm going to use an old-fashioned term. Michaela's not on, but maybe the rest of us. If you remember your Rolodex, call your Rolodex. Well, now we all have listservs and emails and social media, but this is that time because honestly, a message from you, someone that is a trusted colleague, is going to carry more weight than mail that's coming in from government agencies. So I just want to say to all of us, it's the time is now, as my old football coach used to say, except he said, the time is now. So I want to say the time is now, and let's get this bridge built. And so each of us do our part. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.